We've been living in Puerto Vallarta for just over 1 year now.
And we want to share with you some of the lessons we've learned in the past year.
Bienvenidos, amigos, and welcome back to another episode of More Live Diaries. And for those that don't know, that are new here, I'm Mark.
And I'm Kat.
And we sold all of our stuff in Toronto, Canada, packed up a car, and drove to Puerto Vallarta, where we've been living for just over a year now. So I think it's appropriate for us to share not what we love about Mexico, not what we hate about Mexico, but the profound lessons we have learned after living here for just over a year.
And maybe some not so profound.
So let's get to it, guys, and thank you for being with us today. We are currently recording this at the top of Agua Azul at a beautiful church here. We don't know what it's called as usual, but it is very close to the waterfall. So we thought that we'd come up here, be tranquil, and share with you guys some of these profound lessons to us, and hopefully it can help those that are looking to make the move here or that currently do live here. The first lesson that we learned is to value experiences over material things. Now, we have traveled in the past, and that's something that we've learned before moving here, but I think having to sell most of your stuff, most of what you've accumulated for the last 3 to 4 to 5 years, and just starting new, literally packing a car and moving here, makes you realize that it's not about material things. Material things do weigh you down. It's more so about valuing experiences, and that's exactly what it was for us. Just even the experience of driving to Mexico was something that we'll never forget. Even though there were ups, even though there were downs, I think that those things as a family was so valuable to us that it's worth just that experience over maybe what we would have done in Toronto in the last year. And that's basically probably just accumulated more things.
I think you just realize what you need and what you don't need. And a lot of the stuff we had, although it was really nice and we appreciated it, wasn't something that we actually needed. We definitely live without. And so basically from that, we learned our next lesson, which is number 2, learning what to value. So I think through this experience, we learned what we need, what we don't need, even in terms of material things, like what are things we can't really live without and what are things that we can.
We basically moved into an apartment where there was very little and lived almost a year without buying too much, just to really see what we truly do need and spend money on, the necessities versus just overly spending on stuff that we already have and we just want a new version of it, or we don't really need, but we're trying to fill a void somehow. So living with very little made us realize how very little we actually do need. And slowly now, just after a year, we're starting to buy stuff that are practical, that are actually things that we use and things that we need to a certain extent.
And things that add positively to our life.
This can be as little as coffee mugs or a spatula, or some things that are a little bit bigger, like a slow cooker, or just really random things that, we would just go out and buy when we're in Toronto. Whereas now we really take at least a few months to think about it, to live without it, see if we can live without it. And if we can't, or if it will have a positive impact on our life, then we go out and buy it. Our next thing, guys, is that the journey is not always easy. And it's like a cliche thing to say when you say, enjoy the journey, that's the best part, stop and smell the roses. And although all of those things are absolutely true, the actual journey does not come without any downs. So it's
Any topes, some might say.
any Mexican topes. It's really important to know that, throughout a journey, throughout a big move in a life-changing event like what we've lived through, that although the journey is amazing, it's not always easy. And it's really important to stop and reflect on those difficult moments just as much as you would stop and enjoy in the moment the amazing things. There are a lot of amazing things. We're in this beautiful town, in this beautiful country, surrounded by a very beautiful culture, but there's definitely some downs involved in that, which we'll be sharing in a future video. It's just to be fully transparent that it's not all
roses. And I want to add to that, because I think the people that always say, enjoy the journey's the best part, are at the end. They've already arrived at the destination. When you're in the journey, I think we have to remind ourselves many times to be like, we need to appreciate this. We need to think and stop, and what lesson are we trying to is the world trying to teach us right now? Because it can get you down when things don't go your way, but you need to remember that there is a goal that you have set in mind and look towards that. Trust us when we say that we have to remind ourselves that frequently sometimes, because it's not smooth. It's not, one straight line to that destination. You're gonna get lost. You're gonna go on detours. You're gonna hit topes. Your car's gonna break down a bunch of times. But you have to appreciate and really stop and think, what are we supposed to learn from this lesson right now?
Yeah. And that brings us on to our next very important lessons, and that is that your plan is not always the plan. So no matter how much planning you do, and trust us, we did a lot of planning to come here. We kind of even planned what our life would look like when we were here. And unfortunately, no matter how much planning you do, it's not always the outcome that you'll get. So it's very important to, one, be flexible, be willing to expect the unexpected things that life throws your way, and be able to deal with those, because a lot of people would just completely shut down once an arrow is sent through their plan and they don't know what to do anymore. But it's very important when you have a big life-changing event like moving to a completely new country, completely new language. Things are not the same here as in your home country. Sometimes there will be unexpected things. In our situation, there have been so many. Most frequently would be car issues, but there have definitely been a lot more than just car issues.
Yeah, don't be attached to the end result, because what you might have envisioned in the beginning might change. So it is important to not be attached to outcomes when you're coming here, and like Mark said, be flexible. The next one we have for you is the importance of community. Of course, we always talk about community, and not just us, but in general, you hear a lot about the importance of community. We moved here and we really actually got a sense of community. Back home, we had our families, we had our tight friends that were always there for us. But coming here, and especially in the last 2 months in Agua Azul, and being adopted into the local community so warmly, really showed us the difference that makes. When we were in Cinco, we didn't really have too many people near us. We had some friends that we made throughout the year, but now we have this whole actual literal neighborhood that watches out for us, watches out for our kids, invites us over, includes us in their birthday celebrations, and it does really make a huge difference in our experience here as newcomers. And just in general, the fact that if Bassie's playing outside, I know that all the neighbors are keeping an eye on him too. And if he does something bad, we hear about it.
Yeah.
They report back. It's that whole saying of it takes a village. Like, you actually feel the village here, like literally the village.
And as immigrants moving to Mexico, it's also important to have your immigrant community. And that's something that, we put ourselves out there. We met people when we first got here. So that's the easier way to build, that immigrant community. Just put yourself out there, meet people, meet families with kids around the same age as your kids. But I think something that we were missing throughout our first year, as Kathleen mentioned, is the actual warm Mexican community. And, by luck, we got that moving to Agua Azul, moving to a more local neighborhood. They're not all like that, so not all neighborhoods are the same as ours, but our neighborhood, and very specifically our street, has been very welcoming to our family. There are a lot of kids around our kids' age, and yeah, I think we're forever grateful that they've just accepted us within the community. They watch out for each other, we watch out for them, so it's just a beautiful thing to have. And it's something that we've never had. In Toronto, we've never had such a strong community bond like this. And I think it's something that we've always wanted, and something that was always like a void in our lives. The next thing is to be patient. Things don't always work on your timelines. So we've talked about the unexpected things, but sometimes things take a little bit longer than you'd expect to. So although the end result is the same, it'll take a little bit longer to get there. And that doesn't come without saying, like, dealing with bureaucracy stuff here, dealing with even just a simple thing like a car issue, or dealing with wanting to move apartments and having to look for another apartment. Things do take longer, so it's just really important to be as patient as you can. Again, this is a completely different country, and things are done differently here, so it's very important for you to adapt to the way things are done here versus expecting others to adapt to the way you want things to be.
I have to say, yes, things take long, lines are long, you're waiting a long time in them, but if you look around when you're waiting, everyone else is I should say we all, because I'm now learning to be patient, but everyone else is very calm. Everyone else is patient. No one's complaining. There's no one in the back being like, what's the hold up? Everyone just understands that they're in line. It's going to take time. They don't get mad at the person in front of them for asking more questions. It's very chill here.
Yeah.
So that being said, yes, you need to learn to be patient, but I think you also need to be prepared to be patient in that moment. Don't come if you don't have the time.
Don't come if you're stressed to begin with.
Pack a snack. Bring your kids some toys. It might take a minute.
Next one is that living here or moving here won't fix your problems. A lot of people, they move to Mexico or they move to Puerto Vallarta and they expect it to be, all good. Like, I'm just going to forget all of my problems, bring a whole lot of baggage here and live this beautiful life. And in theory, that sounds amazing, but it does not work like that. Just like any major event in your life, getting married, having a baby, moving countries, buying a new house, if you're bringing stress and baggage into those life-changing events, those big events, again, don't come without stress. So it will make things significantly worse, especially in regards to the baggage you're bringing into them. So it's really important to deal with whatever you need to deal with before moving here, whether it's marital issues, whether it's financial issues, whatever it may be. It's really important to just be at peace with everything and take care of literally all your baggage other than the stuff you're bringing here before moving here, because again, there are some stressors when you're living in a new country, a different language. Things are completely different from the way you're used to, so that does not come with no stress involved.
I mean, I think to add to that, it might solve some things. Like if you're a retiree and you're coming here to make your pension go farther, it might work. But all in all, I think number one, to take from what you're saying, is that you need to learn how to deal with stress properly, because that might get solved here. Maybe your dollar will go a little bit farther, but there'll be something else, right? There'll be the lines, there'll be the language barrier, there'll be other things. So you need to learn how to deal with those stressful situations. I think that's really important.
And in our case specifically, I think a big void in our life, the stressor in our life prior to coming here was the fact that, we possibly could not travel anymore like we wanted to, or, living this dream of moving abroad was no longer a reality because we had 2 kids, because our money, our income was tied up in other things. So that was the biggest stressor, the biggest void in our lives. So obviously moving here made sense for us because it kind of took care of what was missing in our lives. But if the stressor, the baggage is not related to traveling or living new experiences, then it's really important to reflect on what is causing the stress in your life, what is the main issue, and dealing with that before committing to a big life change like moving abroad.
Next one we have is money isn't everything. We've talked about letting go of material things, but money is important.
Very important.
I think people come here and they have this illusion that it's going to be super cheap. It's definitely more affordable in certain aspects than Canada, and I'm assuming the United States as well. But there are things that are, basically the same price or more.
You do need to come here, and I'd say like over budget, whatever you think the cost of living, you've done your research, you think, this is our budget. Add 25% to that just to be safe and comfortable, because as Kathleen mentioned, some things are more affordable, but not everything. And a big move like this doesn't come without startup costs, doesn't come with unexpected costs of stuff. Going through the visa process, bureaucracy, repairs, buying small things.
As much as you might research, you're going to come here and you're not going to know everything. You're not going to know where to go, what to go, expect to pay. You're going to have some L's, or you pay a little bit more than you should for certain things. And it's part of the learning process. It's part of moving. You just need to be prepared. You need to have that contingency plan of something, going wrong, or, having to pay something extra, unexpected expenses. And at first you're not going to know how to deal with it. Even if you were like, it doesn't sound right, you might not know how to deal with it or how to question it or if it should be questioned. So you just need to be prepared for that.
Yeah. Come here with a little cushion, come here with an unexpected, rainy day fund, and you'll be fine. But again, just don't expect things to be as cheap, even though we don't like using that word, as they are back home, because it's not always the case. Our next one is embracing local culture. And this is the most important thing on our list. Even though it's not the last thing on our list, we didn't do it in order. It's definitely the most important thing on the list. And this is something, if you've commented below, that we often reply with, is embracing the local culture is something that will completely change the experience of living in a new country. I can say that in our case, the more we get to know the Mexican culture, the more we get to try new foods and have more Mexican friends and learn the language, it is completely changing everything. I'd say in a year from the moment we got here to now, it's completely changed the way that we see living here. Beyond, the nice beaches and the good tacos, we really feel the sense of being welcomed here, and the sense of community, and the sense of, belonging here.
To give an example, we were talking about the last week, we were invited to 2 birthdays on our street, and they were celebrating with a big bowl of pozole. They were inviting everyone over to come have a pozole, which is like a type of soup. And, just being able to come, be invited into someone's home, sat down and served the soup, and you're sitting there with everyone and part of the conversation. It's just a very different experience than just going to the beach, just going to the taco stand. You're in someone's home, you're seeing how they live, you're meeting their family members, you're hearing their stories, how their day was. It's a very different it's a very different experience. It's like behind the scenes of what you see of Mexico, of the beaches, of the tequila, of the tacos. Now you're getting past that, and this is when you see the the people who work in your resort or your hotel, like where do they go after? Like this is where they go, this is who they are. And it's just like it's like
it's just amazing.
Yeah,
it's like
it's like-
such a cool experience that money cannot buy, which is the important thing. Like you really need to put yourself in the, uncomfortable positions sometimes to be part of those things, because for some people moving to a very local neighborhood might be uncomfortable. Talking to, the neighbors in your very broken Spanish might be uncomfortable. But that's something that, we live within that uncomfortable situation, and we know that that will make us grow.
That's what you learn. They correct you. One of the neighbors said to us once, like, oh, you guys are a bit different because, like, there's some people that live here from other places and they walk by, they don't say hello. They've been here for years. We don't know them, but you guys always say hi. And then that led to being invited into the home. So just, say hi, try to get to know people. Like if we were closed off and not doing that, we would never have obviously been invited. And it creates this sense of distrust, I think, too, because they're like, everyone here says hello, good morning, bon appetit, everything. Like everyone says stuff like that when like there's always a greeting. And if you're not participating in that, or you don't know that that's the expectation, because you have, siphoned yourself off, it's just going to be, you're just going to be living here, but not really part of it.
Yeah.
It's just like you come here and you sleep, but you don't really live here. And I think that's like the big difference. And
We've recently gotten the comment like, hey, more live diaries. Is living here as good as you guys make it seem? I think this is the pinnacle of living in a new country and being the happiest you can be. And that is, again, to embrace local culture, to be part of the community that's there. It will completely transform you. It's transformed our family. It's really made us learn all together, which is a very special thing to do as a family. Often you just, have kids, go to work for the rest of your life, basically. Whereas right now we're all, on the same learning curve. And it's really something special to help build our family to a stronger unit. And last, guys, but not least, it's okay to start over. For a while, we thought that we really had things figured out in Toronto. Kathleen and I had really good jobs in really good positions. We owned our home in Toronto, which was always a big dream of ours. But as we mentioned before, there was always that void within us. We had traveled in the past, and it was very difficult to accept that, traveling was just out of budget, and it was going to be out of budget for quite some time. So we took that leap of faith. We put ourselves in positions, move here, start a new business, start things over, and start things over that we didn't really know. We didn't know how to be, creators on YouTube, let alone edit a video.
Start your own business.
Freelance
working.
Looking for clients. Those were all brand new things to us, and we're still definitely learning. The learning curve isn't just 1 year long. It's forever, but we just really, again, put ourselves out there, accepted the challenge that if we didn't do this now, then when? Sounds cliche, but it's true. Like, you only have the one life to live. We all have an expiry date. The most important thing was to show our children that you can do whatever, you dream of, whatever you want to do, whoever you want to be. And for us, this was part of that dream.
We are always told, like, you can do whatever you want, you can be whoever you want, but then it's always within this confine. And if you want to go live in another country and, you want to live by the beach, but you live in the snow in Canada, you can absolutely do that. You can make it happen in whatever way is comfortable for you. You just have to take the time to figure it out, and like that risk, that leap. And that's I would say it should be a very educated research leap, but you can still take it and build the life you want to have.
Definitely. This leap did not come without learning new skills while we were at home and really dedicating our time to, researching. Educated leaps, obviously, especially when you do have 2 kids, but, we're still here, we're still figuring things out, and we still absolutely love living here. So I don't think that will change anytime soon.
And if you are thinking of making that leap, if you are looking at people who live in, another country, wherever it may be, and you're like, I wish I could do that, start looking into it. Chances are there are already people who are living there, living that life you want, and they've done the leap. They know what it takes. You can reach out to them. You can reach out to us. We've met a lot of people here who were like, from New York, from wherever in Canada, Alberta, Australia, wherever. They came here and they're like, I wanted to live here, so I came. And then they figured it out with whatever they had to do, with whatever kind of work they needed to find, and they came here. So there's a lot of people who have done it. It's, it's possible, is my point. It is very possible. You just need to figure it out, how it works for you and what it will look like for you.
And the bonus thing that I just thought about that will add on to this one, because it's very much related to what we just talked about, is that doesn't come without sacrifices. So yes, living here is great. You will need to sell a lot of the things you absolutely love from back home. You'll have to be willing to be away from family and friends that you love from back home. But you're doing this because you will live a better, more fulfilled life. So you need to be able and willing to accept those sacrifices that are very difficult to live with. There's not a day that goes by that we don't miss family, that we don't miss friends. Think about them all the time. You find other ways to keep in touch, obviously. Mm-hmm. And there's even a lot of times that we miss our little casita in Toronto. We miss our bed. We still call it our home, even though, it's not our home anymore.
And we miss like a white Christmas. This is December 8th, and I'm not complaining. It's beautiful, it's sunny, it's warm. I'm in a tank top. But, sometimes when the Christmas music's playing, I'm like, it just doesn't feel the same. So yeah, there's things we miss for sure. But I think, when I think about it, if we were to move back home, I would very much miss here. I think, I don't think we can go back there anymore.
No, I think that in terms of what we've experienced here in the last year, it seems like we're completely different people, like we're a different family. All of these experiences that we've lived versus, where we would be if we would have stayed in Toronto. We would have just gone to our 9-to-5 jobs every single day, and the kids would have gone to school every single day. We would have spent a couple hours with them. That never sat right with us. This could be what you guys love doing, but for us, it was just an unacceptable way of living our lives. So there's no regret on our part. I think that, we're very happy with where we are in life right now. We're still working towards 110 different goals, but at least we're on the right path and we're where we want to be. So that's all we have for you guys for today. Hope you enjoyed these lessons that we're able to share with you guys after our 1-year anniversary. Woo! And thank you for all of those who are new, who are joining us. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.
And share.
If you can relate to anything we've shared today, if you want to see more of these videos, please do let us know. And thank you so much, guys. We just really appreciate everyone that hits that subscribe button, everyone that comments, everyone that reaches out to us via email, Facebook, Instagram, and in person here in Puerto Vallarta. So we truly do appreciate every single one of you. This is our journey. More Life Diaries. Peace.